Hi everyone, I'm Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Letters to Santa. This is like a Hallmark type-ish movie. And it has all the cheesiness, all the romance that a Hallmark movie can have. I don't think it was released on Hallmark. I think it was released somewhere else, but all movies are nowadays. Um, so basically, this movie is not at all what I expected. I expected like girl meets boy, girl tries not to fall in love with boy, boy ends up being really romantic and persuasive, girl falls in love with boy, something happens dealing with Christmas, and they resolve whatever the conflict ends up being at the end, and they end up together. Dun dun. Um, and right from the get go, I was like, this is not at all what I thought it would be. And I went into this with expectations just because it looked very similar to movies I've seen on Hallmark. And it has the actress who plays Daphne at Switched at Birth. I haven't seen her in a lot of movies. And I'm still not used to hearing like her actual voice. Um, because she's not deaf in real life. And it's kind of interesting that she played like the main deaf character in the series, and it was a beautiful series. I loved it. So me hearing her actual like speaking voice is surreal because I got so used to her. I don't want to say accent, but they did refer to it in the show as a deaf accent at times. So I might be correct, I might not be correct. But I was used to that because I watched that show for years. Anyway, uh, beautiful girl, looks very young. So when she played a mom in this movie, for a second I was like, I'm not gonna believe it, but she played it so well. She was a bit dramatic, like very dramatic. Like honestly, if there was an antagonist to the movie, it would have been her, just because she was used to dealing with things on her own, um dealing with things in her own way and everything, not really letting anybody in. She's not a mean character by any means necessary. It's just that she didn't understand why her husband did what he did. He basically took a loan that I thought it was just like, okay, not a loan. He took basically her character is a writer, and she had an advancement of the money for the book. I guess it's like predetermined money or money to make the book. And I assumed it was in their account, their shared bank account. He got it and used it to help out his mom, who owns a restaurant, and save the restaurant. And she ends up being upset by this, so much so that she like actually goes to like get a divorce attorney and like talk to one and everything. Um, and obviously she's like saying later on that she didn't like consider divorce. She went over there to see like if she wanted it. Obviously she didn't, but I think that's still a little bit dramatic because I was just like, I, I mean, if he just took it, yes, I would understand why you're upset, but he did it to help out his mom, which I guess can give you some kind of like remorse and, you know, sincerity for the action. And, you guys seem to be doing pretty okay. So I don't see what the big deal is other than if she doesn't write or finish writing her next book, maybe they could be like not doing too well. But then you realize that she's an author, a best-selling author, but an author who's now struggling to write a book, and he's like a musician, part-time like restaurant manager, but before musician. And I'm just like, they have this huge like beautiful house, and I'm like, they're doing very well for doing very artsy jobs. Like, congratulations to them. But if not, then if she doesn't pull this off, then they won't have any of that anymore. And so basically what we find out is that she gave the money to him to, I guess, what did she say? She gave the money to him for him to do something with his music. I forgot exactly what it was. And he used it to help out his mom. And the whole entire time she's like, but that was my money. That was money that I could have used for the book and everything. And so I'm thinking this was her money, you know? And it was just kind of sitting there. And if the book didn't do well, then it would have been taken away. I don't know how it works. Being a writer myself, I still don't know how that works. Because that's like big deal author stuff. And no, he was given the money. I'm like, then girl, why are you complaining? Like, I mean, I understand, like, but that's like more of a like sit down, we'll talk about it kind of thing than go off and want to get like potentially get a divorce or be very upset with him that you're separating. Um, but that was just my ideas on it, my opinion. I get that's how the mom was raised. And I kind of want to see more as to how she was raised, but I think we got enough of it. It was a lot. It was pretty much the whole movie, like that's how she was raised. Um, but it's funny because how in the end, like she was like talking to the mother-in-law, and I'm like, have you not talked to your mother-in-law to ask her what happened? The mother-in-law, who's like in everybody's business, basically was like, I'm sorry that your husband didn't tell you. I kind of didn't want anyone to be in my business and everything. And I'm just like, what? Like, no, like that didn't make sense to me at all. But I'm like, okay, but if you would have just talked to your mother-in-law, you would have figured out what happened and potentially forgiven your husband sooner. And the only reason like the husband is like so on helping his mom right now is to kind of keep like helping them get a foot after like they basically almost lost the restaurant, and then he'll go back to like doing his music. So she just was all over the place. So this movie ended up being about a couple that is on the brink of separation. They refer to themselves as separated many times. They are not separated. They are still married. They're going to couples counseling. They have their moments where they're like a little bit kissy, and then they don't. And then like they don't live together, but they still like see each other for the kids to kind of like help each other out. Honestly, I think for the kid, like if it weren't for the kids, they wouldn't really be too much around each other. But at the same time, I see the husband making a lot of effort that the wife isn't. And so I wouldn't say they were separated. I would say they were on the brink of separation. Like, but there's things that they're trying to work out. Um and that was interesting, and an interesting dynamic. And they even like touch on this like when she's writing the book. Oh, that's an interesting like thing that's unique for a Christmas book, because she ends up writing the book based on like what happened, that the parents are like separating, like. So I really don't see too many movies like this where it's like, oh, this is different. We're not doing the same kind of trope here, the same kind of plot. And they're at the Christmas tree farm. He tries to hold her hand, and then she's like, nah. I think at this point, when I'm seeing this and the kids are there, I'm like, are these her kids? And then I'm like, are we like fast forwarding? Like, is this some kind of thing that happens later on down the road, and then we kind of go back to how they first met, and then we come back? Like, no, it wasn't any of that at all. And I was kind of happy about that. That would have been interesting. But I was kind of happy it didn't show like a younger version of themselves falling in love. I was very happy with what we got. So basically, in this movie, by the way, the puppy was just there for you to look at it and be like, oh, a puppy, and watch the movie. The puppy was barely in the movie. And this puppy was adorable. This puppy, like, I'm pretty sure they didn't keep it for the full movie. Like, it showed up at the end again. But, like, just because, like, in between when they were talking, this puppy was, like, playing with whatever he found, and you could see it. But anyway, so basically the premise of this movie is the kids, their parents are separating and on the process of, but they still kind of like, are taking them places, Christmas tree shopping and all that stuff. For the holidays, they go take a picture with Santa, and then Santa gives them a magic pen. And I'm over here thinking this is like legit Santa. And again, that would have been what I expected. was not what I expected. He was kind of whimsical, and then there was like a part towards the end where he kind of like was Santa-ish. Obviously, it was just a guy in a Santa suit, but like he kind of like put his wisdom on the kids and still pretended to be Santa, which I thought was really really cute. Um, so basically the kids go to him and they're like, "We didn't get what we wanted," because basically this pen, if their heart is true and their wish is true, then whatever they write in the letter to Santa will come true. In the end, there ends up being a little bit more to it. But basically, in the end, they want their parents back together. And Santa's like, well, it's not that simple. You know, what you want, everyone has to want. That's the whole point of the wish. And I guess that's why the puppy was there, because the puppy brought people together. And I don't know, it got kind of confusing at that point, but I'm like, okay, I still understand you. Their first wish is a puppy. The puppy comes to the front door. Santa is not bringing these things. He just kind of magic pen here. The guy was just like being whimsical. Here you go. Apparently the grandma found the letter in like, or like she basically was playing Santa. Basically, she found out that this pen like makes the kids, you know, believe that whatever they write to Santa, that it's gonna come true. And so she goes to the mailbox basically every single night and is reading their letters, and she's Santa, and bringing it to them. Obviously, there's certain things that she cannot bring. Coincidentally, those things end up being the things that the kids did not wish truthfully, or somehow still happen in some way, in some magical way, even though the grandma couldn't like gift it to them. Like the kid, like he was just like, I want an Xbox or whatever it was, and or I think it was an Xbox, and he did not get it because it was just kind of like, you know, you got a puppy, I want an Xbox, nah. And then they wish for an elf for their mom. Coincidentally, they get an illustrator coming in to help the mom because she's struggling to write the book because of the, you know, separation and everything and not being inspired. And so they're like, that's the elf. Like, basically, he just came to help her with the book and everything. And then they were like, okay, no, the elf didn't work. Now we want flowers for our mom. Grandma gifts the flowers. And then, but grandma cannot gift the elf, obviously. So it's like certain things she can't do. And coincidentally, like their aunt is kind of also in it. And she's telling her, well, Santa can't grant everything. It's within reason. And so it's just kind of working itself out. And then at the end of it, the whole thing that happens ends up being the book. So the mom basically like in a like she doesn't know what to do, so she like pitches the idea of like, oh, my kid's got this magic pen, but like she's like, oh, this is the book. The kid's got the magic pen and like they wish for a puppy and blah blah. And then they end up sitting like in like around a table and like having a party and like being like, okay, we're gonna finish this book, we're gonna do this for mom and everything. And so they're like, let's throw some ideas. What happens next? And the kids are like, this is what happens next. And slowly but surely, the story comes together of what exactly happened. They're like, yeah, this and that. And then grandma's like, oh, yeah, this. And they find out it was grandma. And then the kids are like, no, this is what happened next. And no, the kids, there's many times where they were like, no. And I'm over here like, these kids are going to throw a tantrum because it's not the exact story. The story was not the exact story. There's like changes, like the ink ran out and whatever, and the magic was in them all along. And so I guess, you know, that was different and nice. I like that it wasn't the exact same story. But I thought the kids were just going to be like, because they were like, no, like, this is not how it happened. And I was like, you know what? Like, they're basically writing you the story. Like, you might as well write it how it, but okay. So yeah, and then I forgot there was this one scene in the beginning where they had a camera and they could see people like coming to their house and everything, and outside, like they were watching from the outside. And I don't know how the dad did not know about this earlier, but I guess he looked back and he was like, hey, look, it was my mom. And then so they showed a scene where it's like, oh, it was my mom. Like when they were like figuring out, they're like, oh. yeah, I thought it was a really sweet, cute movie. And there were some things that were like a little cringy, as like some movies that are like that have. Some dealing with not really the plot. I think the plot was really good. I think just like filming aspects, like how a scene came together, certain like wording and everything. But for the most part, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. And I have yet to. I really like Christmas movies, but I'm not a big fan of the Hallmarky kind of Christmas movies. But like random ones like this, like I really like them. But it had that vibe, so that's why I felt like that's what it was gonna be, but it wasn't. And then like the potential, I love that the potential like love characters that were supposed to be like kind of like for the mom and for the dad ended up kind of with like the girl ended up liking like the guy and everything. They never got together, which I was kind of sad about. But obviously you need some drama, so there you go. And yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was super duper cute. Um, and they got together at the end, and it was like they figured out that, like, like all of this was kind of like a catalyst to like move things forward, and then they like things started happening. They were able to like reconcile and get back together, which was sweet, and I like that. And the wife admitted that she was wrong because she was. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all real soon. Bye.